There's a lot of talk out there that AI is replacing junior lawyers, and a lot of people are wondering as a result, should they even go to law school? In fact, recently, a partner at a major law firm told Andrew Yang that AI is already handling work that used to belong to first and third year associates. He posted on Twitter, and that quote blew up for a good reason. Because if you've been spending years prepping for the LSAT and you're staring down the barrel of $200,000 in student loans, the idea that some AI software might take your spot could seem terrifying. But the thing is that AI is not replacing all lawyers, it's replacing lawyers who act like robots. So if your plans to copy-paste templates and follow orders, you are going to be obsolete. But if you want to think for a living, you've got options. And law school could still be one of the best moves you make. And let's get real for a minute. AI is not magic. It's not your new robot law partner. It's a really fast, really confident intern who occasionally makes stuff up. Now, there are some highlights though. AI is incredible at pattern-based work. If you need a simple motion drafted with basic facts and standard language, AI's got you. If you've got to summarize a 100-page deposition into bullet points, just give it 12 seconds. If you want a memo that pulls relevant case law and makes it sound like someone passed CivPro once in their life, it's going to give you something that sounds decent. You could even ask it to rewrite that memo in the style of Shakespeare, and it'll do it. Poorly, but with confidence. Basically, AI excels at repetitive, structured, low-stakes tasks. The stuff that junior associates have been doing while caffeinated out of their minds at 1 a.m. for the last 30 years. But let's talk about what it can't do. And this is where it gets interesting. AI struggles with anything that requires actual thinking. And not thinking in the way of sorting a spreadsheet. I mean, real thinking where you've got to weigh risk, choose strategy, and understand people. It doesn't know when the right move is off the board entirely. Like, maybe you don't file a motion at all. Or how to handle a case where the client's saying one thing, the facts are saying another, and the judge is giving you side-eye from the bench. AI doesn't do ethics. It doesn't do emotion, and it doesn't do nuance. If you feed it a prompt about a custody battle between a mom and a dad, it's going to give you a planned summary of precedent without realizing that what you really need to do is read the room, feel the stakes, and help the client make an impossible decision at 3 in the morning. And AI hallucinates. It makes up facts, citations, and occasionally entire cases. Then it delivers them to you with the full confidence of a toddler. And lawyers have already been sanctioned publicly for filing briefs with fake cases generated by ChatGPT. And that's not just embarrassing, it's actually malpractice. So AI is not going to replace good lawyers. It'll replace the ones who were barely thinking in the first place. And that's the point. And the firms that get this, they're not laying off their junior associates. They're retraining them and asking, can you use this new tool, but still think for yourself? And that is a huge mindset shift. When we work with students who are aiming to work at top law firms, we focus on exactly that. Using tools like AI without letting your brain atrophy. Because the truth is, you don't get points for typing the best prompt. You get points for knowing what the prompt left out. That's the job, and that cannot be outsourced. Now let's talk about something that almost nobody realizes. The LSAT is basically anti-AI training. This test was designed years, decades before ChatGPT existed, back when cutting edge meant printing in color. And yet somehow, by chance maybe, it prepares you for exactly the kind of work that AI cannot do. Let's break it down. First up is logical reasoning. This section is a total goldmine. It trains you to read an argument and not just understand it, but tear it apart. You're not just asking which answer is right, you're asking what's the core claim? What assumptions are hiding under the surface? And why do these other answers sound tempting, but actually fall apart on closer inspection? AI just can't do that. It doesn't understand arguments. It mimics patterns and stacks probabilities, which sound good, but it doesn't know what makes an argument good or bad. It just knows what's typical or average. But you, on the other hand, you're training your brain to think like a skeptical, sharp, caffeine-fueled associate who's not going to fall for nonsense. This is why, when we work with students who are aiming for top LSAT scores, we spend a huge amount of time on why the wrong answers are wrong, not just circling the right letter and moving on. Because AI can sometimes give you the right letter, but you're going to be in court one day getting grilled by a judge who wants to know why your argument actually holds up and you can't just pull up ChatGPT in that context. Now let's talk reading comp. Now I know that you're reading 500 words on 18th century Indonesian agricultural reform, and that's probably putting you to sleep. But there's value in that because the reading comp section is teaching you how to read something dense, boring, and full of jargon and pull out the structure, not the fluff, not the trivia. The LSAT is secretly asking, can you figure out what this person's trying to say? Can you separate their opinion from the facts? Can you tell which paragraph changed the direction of the entire passage? And AI doesn't do that well. It'll summarize the whole thing and slap on a bullet list, but it won't necessarily be able to tell you which sentence just undermined the author's entire argument. That's your job. So the big takeaway here is that while everyone else is scared of AI taking their jobs, you're prepping for the one test that accidentally made you AI-proof. The LSAT will train you to spot bad logic, read with purpose, think critically under time pressure, and explain your reasoning clearly even when you're not 100% sure. And all of that is what law schools want. It's what law firms want. And it's what humans still want from their lawyers as well. Now let's think about what lawyers actually do on a good day. They're not just pushing paper. They might be walking a terrified client through the scariest moment of their life. They might help their client pick between two bad options and sleep at night with a decision, and know when not to say something, file something, or escalate something. And there is no magic prompt for that. There's no machine that says, hey, based on the subtext and power dynamics in this boardroom, you should probably pause and let the silence speak for itself. That is human judgment. And being human is still a competitive advantage. Now, one of our students recently asked, can't I just use ChatGPT to break down every single logical reasoning question I encounter? And we said, sure, if you also want to train yourself to trust confident nonsense, because AI might sound authoritative because it speaks like it knows. But it doesn't know. It's just good at faking it because it desperately wants to please you. That's why firms are not racing to automate every job. They're being cautious because they still need real people to think through ambiguity, catch subtle errors, and ask, does this even make sense? And ultimately, take responsibility. AI might be able to help, but it cannot be held accountable. And legal work is not only about being smart or rational, it's also about trust. When a client hires you, they're saying, I'm putting my future in your hands. They're not going to hand that over to a machine that just admitted, oops, I fabricated that entire footnote. My bad. No one's going to entrust their custody case, their criminal defense, or their company's entire future to an algorithm that's never had a tough conversation with a client in its entire life. So yes, AI will keep getting better. It'll speed up some of the boring stuff and might even write better email subject lines than most junior associates, but the law still needs lawyers. It needs thinkers. It needs strategists. And until a machine can do all that, you've still got a job. Now, let's say you're studying for the LSAT right now, or maybe you're knee-deep in your law school applications and you're hearing all this AI stuff and you're wondering, okay, that's cool, but what does this mean for me right now? It means the bar has moved. It's not enough anymore to just get a good score and coast. You've got to show up thinking like a future lawyer, not just a student who's good at taking tests. The LSAT used to be a hurdle where you jump over it and you're in, but now it's a proving ground. It's where you start developing the exact skills that'll set you apart from every applicant who's still thinking like it's 2012. Skills like clear thinking, structured reasoning, and precision under pressure. And those aren't just LSAT skills, they're lawyering skills. AI can draft a sentence and find a precedent, assuming it hasn't made it up, but it can't spot a subtle flaw in a witness statement. It can't sense when a client is withholding something out of fear or shame. But you can if you're trained for it. Now, I want to say something most people won't tell you. There's no checkbox you can tick that says, I am now immune to AI disruption. There's no certification, no badge, and no industry is truly immune. But there is a mindset. The students we work with who thrive, both on the LSAT and in law school, are the ones who shift from asking, how do I beat the test, to asking, how do I train my brain to think like a lawyer? And that shift changes everything. It changes how you study, what you focus on, and how you review mistakes. That's how you become someone who's not just ready for law school, but ahead of it. And if you're still approaching the LSAT like it's some high school quiz where you memorize, regurgitate, and forget everything 30 seconds later, you're toast. Because that approach doesn't work anymore. The world doesn't need more walking flashcards. So all of this AI stuff really means you've got to level up, not just in your score, but in how you think, how you reason, and how you process information when the answer isn't obvious. That's how you become the kind of lawyer clients trust, and that's how you become the kind of candidate AI cannot replace. So let's say you've hit the score you wanted. You're finally seeing those law school brochures in your inbox like we'd love to have you. I know it feels great, but just because a law school wants you doesn't mean it'll actually prepare you for the world you're about to enter, a world with AI in it. Because some law schools are still teaching like it's 1995, with the same textbooks, the same lecture slides, and the same casebooks. But meanwhile, the legal profession is changing. AI tools are showing up in document review, predictive analytics are being used in litigation strategy, and legal ops are automating work that used to take 5 paralegals. So if your law school's pretending that none of this is happening, you're basically paying $200,000 to learn how to use a fax machine. So one of the first things we tell our law school admissions clients is that they're not just choosing a school, they're choosing a platform to set them up for career success for the next 40 years. And if that platform is built on outdated thinking, you're already behind before you've even started. So when you're researching schools or touring them, you want to ask the questions that most people are too polite or too nervous to ask. You want to ask, are there any courses focused on legal tech, AI, or automation? Do the clinics use modern tools to streamline workflow and document prep? Do professors encourage discussion around AI and its ethical implications in the law? And you want to watch how admissions responds to this. If they light up and say, yes, we just added a class on AI and ethics in the courtroom, you're in the right place. But if they blink and go, we do a class on Westlaw, that's not a good sign. You also want to talk to the current students and ask them, are the professors even aware of how fast legal tech is changing? Do they feel like the school is going to prepare them for the world where tech is part of the job? You're going to learn more from one honest student than 50 pages of glossy marketing materials. Because AI is not going away, and the clients of the future are going to demand lawyers who know how to use tools that cut costs, speed up workflow, and reduce errors. So if your law school is not teaching you that, you're going to graduate with a massive student loan balance and a skill gap no one told you about. And that is a brutal combo. So no, you don't have to go to the fanciest school on your list, but you do have to go to one that gets it. A school that understands the legal field is evolving, and that knows you're going to need more than just an understanding of torts and criminal law. You're going to need fluency on how tools like AI fit into legal work. And you're going to want to choose wisely because law school is not just a credential, it's your career launchpad. So let me ask you a serious question. Are you going to law school because you dream of copy-pasting contracts for the rest of your life? Didn't think so. You're doing this because you want more. You want to win arguments, make smart decisions, influence society, help people, and build something meaningful. You want to be the lawyer clients trust when everything is on the line. And that's what nobody talks about when it comes to AI. Everyone's focused on the fear, AI is replacing lawyers, but they forget to ask, which lawyers? Because AI is replacing the ones who just push buttons, the ones who follow checklists, the ones who never developed judgment, empathy, or strategy. If that's not who you want to be, then great, this is your moment, because the value of a lawyer is moving upstream. It's no longer about who can draft a form the fastest. It's about who can guide a business through a risky deal, counsel a panicked client at 2 a.m., persuade a skeptical judge with a well-framed argument, and walk into a high-stakes negotiation and actually read the room. That's not AI work, that's your work. Now, does that mean you can ignore AI entirely? Absolutely not. You still need to know how to use it because the lawyers who thrive in the next 40 years are going to do 2 things really well. 1, they'll be able to think clearly and independently, and 2, they'll be able to use every tool at their disposal without becoming dependent on any of them. That's the sweet spot. And when we work with students one-on-one, that's a big part of what we help them build. Yes, of course, we coach them on hitting a 170 plus. And yes, we drill arguments and conditionals and reading comp structure until it clicks. But the real win is when they stop just studying for a test and start training to think like a lawyer. Because once that shift happens, everything else gets easier. You start reviewing more effectively. You stop being afraid of hard questions. You build mental endurance. You stop asking, what's the trick to this question, and start asking, what's the structure here? What's the blind spot? What's the flaw? That's when you're no longer practicing to beat the LSAT. You're practicing to beat the problem, whatever form it takes. AI, timed section, confused client, weird hypo on a torts final, doesn't matter. You've trained your brain to handle it. So, if you're planning your legal career, here's what I want you to remember. The future doesn't belong to the fastest typist. It belongs to the clearest thinker, the one who can cut through complexity, lead when things are messy, adapt when things change. AI might be part of your toolkit, but you're still the lawyer. And that role, that identity, that responsibility still matters more than ever. So, should you still go to law school? Short answer, yes. Longer answer, yes, if you're ready to play a smarter game. And look, I get it. It's scary out there. Everyone's posting hot takes on social media like AI is replacing lawyers or legal jobs are dead. It's all noise. The truth is much more nuanced. Yes, some entry-level work is being automated. And yes, the legal industry is evolving fast. And the old model of go to school, memorize everything, grind out 80-hour work weeks doing the same memo 12 different times, that's going away. But here's what's not going away. The need for smart people who can think clearly. The need for real judgment in complex, messy situations. The need for humans who can guide other humans through risk, emotion, and conflict. You don't go to law school just to get a job. You go to build a career. You go to become someone who can walk into any room, a courtroom, a boardroom, or a classroom and say, here's what we should do. That's what clients pay for. That's what colleagues respect. And that's still what AI cannot do. So you should still go to law school if you're doing it with your eyes open. You understand the cost. You understand the game is shifting. And you know the LSAT is just the beginning, not the whole story. You're not just chasing prestige or a job title. You're building skills that last. Clear thinking, sound reasoning, and the ability to adapt and lead when everything feels uncertain. If you can play that game, AI becomes your sidekick, not your threat. So while everybody else is panicking about being replaced, you're leveling up. You're using tools and sharpening judgment. You're choosing a law school that's thinking about the next 40 years, not just the last 40. And you're building a career with staying power. Because you don't just want a job, you want to be the lawyer they call when the stakes are high. And that role is still wide open.